The Environmental Protection Agency is sounding the alarm on cybersecurity threats targeting our nation's critical infrastructure. Cyber attacks on the rise, with the EPA warning of potential hacks from China, Russia, and Iran targeting America's water systems. Roughly 70% of water utility providers failed to meet EPA standards in 2023. The EPA found some providers skipping simple security measures like changing default passwords and removing clearance from former employees. Well, now the agency is warning providers and state officials to get cybersecurity precautions up to speed fast amid a rise in hacking attempts and cyber attacks on rural communities across the country. Here to talk more about this is Sultan Meghji, CEO of Frontier Foundry and former CIO of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Sultan, thank you for being with us. How vulnerable is our water system right now?
It's far more vulnerable than people realize. The EPA is doing a great job of trying to get the awareness up, but these are very old technologies, very old computer systems that have been around that just haven't been maintained. And most local environmental systems, water systems, have not spent the amount of money to keep them maintained or just have good cyber hygiene. We've seen hundreds of hack attempts. Happily, so far, it's been a very small percentage of successful hack attempts, but there is obviously a significant concern.
And what would be the result of a hack? What would those with nefarious purposes be looking to do, and how would they do it?
Well, I'll start with the how would they do it. There is an active program by many nation states and global hacking groups to have malware installed on these devices, just sitting there waiting, and then waiting for opportune moments, whether it's a presidential election or something else. And the hack can be anything from taking a water treatment system offline to, getting it to a point where when you turn the water faucet on at home, water doesn't come out.
So the burden on local municipalities, where does the fix begin?
So it's one of the unique features of the United States that the vast majority of our critical infrastructure is actually owned by the private sector, not by the U.S. government. And so most of these water treatment facilities aren't owned by a city necessarily. They're owned by a business or that has a contract with the city, or the municipality. And so the onus is not just on the municipality to hold those companies to account, but then the companies to make sure that they're investing correctly and doing all the right things from a cyber perspective.
So practically speaking, what are the first steps to mitigate some of the threat and the risk?
Well, this isn't rocket science, Marnie. Most cyber hygiene is really straightforward things: changing passwords, and don't have something connected to the internet that doesn't need to be, and things like that. And this is something where a lot of these organizations, if they just focus their energies and the staff and the money they already have, they would be able to do this. Basic things: changing passwords, not being connected to the internet, deactivating old user accounts, things like that. That would go a long way towards mitigating a lot of these concerns.
And how can you and I and people at home know if our system is up to snuff, has the safeguards in place to protect our water?
Sadly, that's a tough one to answer, because for the vast majority of these systems, we don't know. They don't report out publicly on hack events or things like that. It's really a matter of the federal government as well as the local municipalities holding it to account and then reassuring us and saying, hey, we're holding the local water system to the standards set, in a commercial setting, but also nationally and federally, and then letting us know and reassure us, because there are thousands of these systems around the country, and each one is managed independently.
So how often are checks and balances happening, or should they be happening, to make sure that the systems are up to date?
Yeah, it's a daily event. Cybersecurity is a daily event. Just like we all make sure that our bank account passwords are safe and that our Wi-Fi at home is safe, it's the exact same thing, just at a larger scale. And I would look, if I was a mayor or an alderperson or city council, I would make sure that I was getting, if not daily, at least weekly reports back from critical infrastructures, ensuring that they're doing all the right things they should be doing.
And it's not just shutting down the systems, but what are the risks of things getting into the system and into our water supply?
Less so. These systems are generally kind of on or off. If a waste treatment plant either is on or it's off, right? It's not, nefarious things can't get put into it. You can't turn off a water treatment plant and all of a sudden water becomes, for example, poisonous. That's very difficult to do. It's more just availability of the service. Is the sewer system working? Is water coming out of your taps? Those are really the two big things.
The system is vulnerable. Got to fill up those holes with more than water to stop the threat. Sultan, thank you for being with us. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.